Victoria 3 mixed, Europa Universalis Force DLC mixed, Stellaris DLC very negative. Just what the hell is going on with Paradox Interactive? Hey there strategy gamers, welcome to my humble channel where I talk all things strategy games and the people who make them. Today I want to talk about our favorite grand strategy developers, or at least at some point in time our favorite. Paradox Interactive, because they have not been having that great of a time recently. It has not always been like this: middling reviews, extreme negativity over DLCs, which admittedly Paradox Interactive loves doing lots of them, and to be fair, supporting their games for a long time, but somewhere along the way they kinda lost their way. Now don't get me wrong, Paradox Interactive, from their very first game they released, which was Europa Universalis back in 2000, was not known for releasing polished games. No, it was not that their games had been golden standards for refined gameplay. They were always a little rough. But as the small developers from Sweden making a real-time grand strategy game, which was definitely not a common thing back in the day, the real-time bit, they were the underdogs. People fell in love with the idea of being able to guide nations through history, however difficult or buggy things were. A rough diamond, that's what they called them. They found their niche, which was historical grand strategy, and spun off different time periods and settings. We strategy gamers loved it. We played their games for hundreds of hours, and we looked forward to a bright future for this growing developer that's hitting all the right notes and saying the right things, being very driven by the community. But eventually Paradox Interactive became a big Swedish game company and started publishing games as well as continuing to make their own games now under the Paradox Development Studio label. You would expect them to publish games that took risks like their games. There were quite a few duds even in the early publishing days of Paradox. Remember Naval War Arctic Circle? Remember Salem, which is a game probably 90% of you, no, 99% of you haven't heard of. You'd have to trawl the back catalog, like the real back streets of Paradox Interactive's old games, to find anything about it. There were also some pretty good ones, I'll admit. They published Penumbra, which was Frictional Games' first game before Amnesia. They had Majesty 2, Mount and Blade, Pillars of Eternity, and that buggy mess of a game with oodles of charm, Magica. Oh yeah, Battletech, and of course, I believe their best-selling published game of all time, City Skylines. More recently, we remember more failures than wins. Getting studios led by big names like Brenda Romero releasing Empire of Sin. That one was painful, so disappointing. I had hopes that they would turn it around. And the botched release of City Skylines 2, which is not really the worst thing, but it was a big disappointment for many. Oh, and if you haven't watched my 2024 strategy games list, which you should, I think we can also add Rod Humble's Life by You, a Sims like that doesn't look like it will light the world on fire. They've been dropping the ball on their publishing arm. And internally, it's been a bit of a mess, how they fluffed Vampire the Masquerade 2 by firing the people making it, and then writing off the Lamplighters League as a loss from Harebrained Schemes, a studio with really good pedigree which made the brilliant Battletech. They spent millions on these games and really botched the whole thing. I don't want to jump to conclusions here and say that it was all Paradox Interactive's fault here, but these were some pretty major failures that could have been handled better or even overcome. When it comes to Paradox Development Studios games, they haven't fared all that great as well. Sure, the only big positive that I can think of was Crusader Kings 3, which was universally seen as a big step up. But everything else has been a failure or met with mixed reviews. Remember Imperator, or is it Imperator? Imperator Rome? Yeah, Imperator Rome. That was supposed to be the sequel to Europa Universalis Rome. Do you guys remember that game? Like a grand strategy game set during Roman times? That seems like a easy thing to sell to people, you know? Like, seems like many people would love that. Yes, we loved the idea, but the execution, the vision, well, that fell very short. It was not really that fun. Victoria 3, which was a meme for more than a decade, a lot of hopes on this one. Big ambitions of making one of the most complex grand strategy games in their stable to be more accessible, but in the end it felt like it was missing something. Some neat ideas that didn't quite make it a complete, brilliant Victorian era package. Paradox Interactive is now a public listed company. No longer are they the underdog, the small upstart from Sweden. They have shareholders to answer to, profit estimates to hit. They may have started by listening to fans, but now I'm not so sure. There is a real danger of Paradox Interactive becoming another creative assembly, a great strategy game dev that has been a victim of their own success and expansions. I suppose you could argue as a big corporation, people don't give you as much of the benefit of the doubt. People are not as forgiving. Yes, I understand that. But I'd expect them to improve with success, not regress. In a way, I believe the idea of forming Paradox Arc, a small indie game publishing arm, is sort of an attempt to get back to that roots, you know, identifying rough gems and making them great. So far, I must say Paradox Arc has had some pretty good releases. Not the big budget epics for sure, but it's one of the positive things coming out of Paradox Interactive right now. I don't think it's too late for them to steer the ship to the correct direction, to course correct, to the direction that takes them closer to the community, to the fans who play their games. Paradox Interactive needs to really look back at what made them successful in the first place. They need to take note of these warning signs right now, not ignore them, and if they do that and avoid the pitfalls that Creative Assembly has seemingly fallen into, Paradox Interactive can totally bounce back from this to become a strategy gaming force that it once was. But for now, we shall see the rise of new strategy game champions with companies like Hooded Horse. They published some of my favorite strategy games last year. But that's for another video, for another time. And if you want to check out more of my strategy game videos, do give this video a like. It helps with the YouTube algorithms, and subscribe to this channel. I've got so much to talk to you about this year. It's going to be a busy year. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.